So solving by substitution, number one, if the solution's outside our grid, and we saw that with the homework question that we just went over. If it's outside our grid, we can't see where the two lines cross. Okay. For example, that last equation from the homework had a y value of 250. So that's way outside what we normally graph. Normally graph like around 10, right? Positive 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10. That's all we're looking at usually. Also, maybe they don't cross at integral values. So they don't cross right in the corner of a grid. So we're not going to have whole numbers. So we might have some fractions. Don't give me decimals, I want fractions. Okay. Now there's two algebraic methods we can use. Today we're going to look at substitution. Tomorrow we'll look at the other method, which is elimination. Okay. And then after that you can choose the method unless I'll tell you. So usually what we do on a test is I give you some graphing examples, I give you some substitution examples and some elimination examples that I tell you the specific method to use. Then after that, it's up to you to choose. Okay, so you do have to know all the methods, but then you can choose your favorite and use that for all the other questions. Okay. So example 1, solve the following question algebraically. So what we have here is two equations, and they have the same x and y value. They're equal. So this is what we want to find as a solution. So what we want to do is isolate one variable. It doesn't matter which one you move. You either want to get x equals or y equals. And it's only for one equation. So you choose the equation. So looking at these two equations, which one do you want to work with? The top one or the bottom one? Which one do you think will be easier to get x equals or y equals? The bottom? It'll be tough. Two reasons. Because there's a 2 in front of an x and there's a negative sign in front of the y. It's actually easier if we start working with that one. So let's just rewrite it. X plus y equals 2. And how about we move y to the other side? How do you move y to the other side? Yeah, you minus it. So still easy. Minus y, and so you get x equals 2 minus y. Not too bad. So now what you have to do then is you have to substitute this expression into the other equation. So write the other equation, 2x minus y equals 7. And now this value, 2 minus y, will have to go in for x. But what are we going to have to add to show proper multiplication? Brackets. We've got to have brackets. So the x becomes a 2 minus y. We put it in brackets. Don't forget we're multiplying by 2 up front, so we have to include that. Okay, most of us will probably write that first. And then go minus y equals 7. Now we have to do our algebra and solve. Now don't forget, when you have brackets, and I know you guys are sometimes careless with that, you have to multiply the 2 into both parts. It's 2 times 2 and 2 times negative y. Solve for y now, please. Go. Let's test your solving skills. So multiply, collect like terms then. And at the very end, you're going to go positive 3 divided by negative 3. So your y value is a negative 1. How many people got that? Okay, so now what we do, we know now part of the answer. We've just found the half of the solution. We found our y value. So now what we have to do is substitute in to find our x value. And we can do that a whole bunch of different ways. There's probably about 4 different ways to do that. So you have an equation x plus y equals 2, is it? 2. And the other equation was 2x minus y equals 7. So you choose either one. Okay, I want this half of the room over here, okay, from Tony's row over, these first two rows, I want you to do this one. Everyone on the other side of the room, the far side, so Keely and Caroline's rows over, I want you to use this one. Substitute and solve. Go. So now you're substituting your y value of -1 and then solve for x. I always use brackets when I substitute in. Oops, this should be minus y here, not a 7. Always use brackets. Okay, now solve for x. Okay, did you get a different answer right side or left side? You guys got the same answers, didn't you? It doesn't matter which one you pick to solve in, you'll still get the same answer. My only suggestion is use original equations. Okay, because if you make any math error, you will get a different solution than if you use the original one. So always use the original. That way you're not going to make a mistake with your mistake. Kind of what I'm saying. Okay? Questions? Concerns? Feelings? Nothing? Too early yet? Too early yet. Okay. All right, solve this one now. Do you need to change any of the equations right now? Do you have an x equals or a y equals? Yeah, so nice, wasn't I? Oh, so let's go back up. One thing I want to show you, I talked about this. Always use brackets when you're substituting in, because you don't want to make a mistake and actually forget about this negative sign here. You want to make sure you have the double sign and then you correct it. Okay, so that's a common error, is you get confused and you don't write the signs properly. So use brackets, that will help. Okay? Any questions? All right, let's go down now. Finish this one. So now we have 2x equals y. So we can go 4x plus 6 times 2x equals 48. So all I did is I substituted my y value in the bottom, from the top equation to the bottom. Now solve for x. Go. So when you solve for x, you have to multiply this 6 times the 2 to get 12x. Collect like terms, so 4 plus 12 is 16x. Divide by 16, x equals 3. Any questions? Are we done? We have an answer. No, we're not. What do we need to do? Yeah, we've got to substitute in. So there's part of the answer. Now we have to put into the equation. So you can use the top equation or the bottom one. Which one would be easiest to use? Top one for sure. So go ahead, use the top one. So always start by writing the original. You don't want a transposing error. Transposing error means you wrote it wrong. Okay. So now what's the answer? How do we write the answer? Yeah. Well, no, this is okay. 6 equals y, or y equals negative 6. Not negative 6, positive 6. Okay, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is our final answer now to the question. So the whole goal is to solve the system. So what's the proper way to write our solution? Tony? Exactly. So you got to have it in brackets, x value, y value. Remember, we did some algebra to find that answer. We have to find the point where those lines cross. Okay. So this is your answer. 3 bracket, 3 comma 6 bracket. Okay. That's your solution to the system. At that point, what are we going to see? What's happening at that point? They cross, exactly. Okay, at that point, both lines are crossing. Okay, turn it over. Okay. Now I'm going to force your hand a bit to do a little bit harder algebra. Okay, a little bit harder algebra. Okay, which question do you want to work with? The top one or the bottom one first? Well, the top one's going to be tougher because you have a 3 in front of the x and a negative 2 in front of the y. So which one should you work with? The bottom. Look, x is all by itself. That's just begging you, say, choose me, choose me. Right? You want to use that one. Because what does x equal? Right away you know. What does x equal? Clovis? No. Oh, you have to move the 6y to the other side. Yeah, exactly. So minus 6y. So you could write this as, now if we're going to graph this, we might write it as minus 6y plus 9. But we're not going to graph it, are we? So what's an easier way to write it? Yeah, 9 minus 6y. Okay, then you don't have that negative sign up front, which sometimes can be a hassle. Now what's the next step, Priya? Look at the top of the page. Okay. So we've isolated the variable. Now we have to exactly substitute it into the other equation. Okay. So now you want to take this value and put it in for x. Make sure you use brackets. Okay, go ahead. So 3 times bracket 9 minus 6y bracket minus 2y equals negative 23. Solve for y. Go. Multiply into both parts. Collect like terms. Levi, what's the answer? Okay, let's see here. 3 times 9 is 27 minus 18y minus 2y equals negative 23. 27 minus 20y equals negative 23. Now you really got to be watching your negative signs when doing this stuff, okay? So now 27 goes to the other side and you're actually subtracting it. Here's a little trick. This is an addition up front. Always look up front. So you subtract 27 minus 27. Okay. And so this is minus 40. Sorry, minus 50. Okay. So y equals negative 50 divided by negative 20. Do you agree? Okay. Now what do you have to do? Put it into lowest terms. What are you going to do with the 2 negative signs? They cancel out, and so you're left with 5 over 2. Okay. Good. So now we have a fraction. This is going to happen to you. Which equation do you want to substitute into? The top one or the bottom one? Bottom one? Well, I look at my bottom of the fraction and it's a 2. So what numbers are divided by 2? Well, guess what? Here's a 2 and that's a 6. Both of them will work. It's no big deal. They'll both be able to divide by 2 and get rid of my fraction. Okay. So I'm gonna who wants to use the top one? Hands up. Bottom one, hands up. That was pathetic. Let's do it again. Top one, hands up. Bottom one, hands up. All right, bottom one it is. So we're going to go x plus 6y equals 9. X plus 6 times 5 over 2 equals 9. So before you multiply, what should you do with the 6 and the 2? Cancel out. Right? So divide them both by 2 or 6 divided by 2. Depends how you want to think about it. But they cancel out to a 3. Right? 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now we have x plus what? 3 times 5, which is 15, equals 9. Isn't that awesome? You got rid of your fractions just like that. Whew, thank goodness. Choose wisely so you can get rid of your fraction. And so what's the x going to equal then? -6. So we have 2 little answers that we have to use our algebra for. What is our actual final answer that you're going to put in a nice, beautiful box? Josephat, what's the answer to the question? What's the solution to the system? Where do both lines cross? What's that point? What are we missing, Josephat? Brackets. Okay. That way we know it's a system, it's a point. Okay. An x value and a y value. Okay. Now, gotta recall some algebra skills that we use in grade 9. We have to, and you're going to use this a ton now, so get used to this. Gotta get rid of the fraction. This is just like when we had the general equation. We have to get rid of the fractions. So we're going to multiply here to get rid of this the bottom. Yeah, multiply everything by 3. So it's a 3 times this, 3 times this, and 3 times the -1. So that equals then what? Victor? Well, if you, no, not really, because it would be like 6 divided by 3x. Yeah, so you can change it right away to a 2. See what happens, Victor, is that they cancel out. The bottom and the top cancel out. Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay, equals what? Good. Minus 3. Okay, good job, Victor. Okay, so you gotta be careful with that, right? Can you fix your page up? Okay, and the bottom equation, we're gonna have to multiply it by. Yeah, 2 is okay here, but would still be left with a fraction because we have a 4 on the right side. So what's the LCM? It would be 4. Okay, it would be a 4. And I should just use my arrows here. I shouldn't use an equal sign. Okay. Okay, so multiply it out, see what you get. What'd you get, Teresa? Good. Well done on not forgetting that negative sign. Okay? All right, so solve it. Should we change the top equation or the bottom equation? Pardon? The top one's done, but here's the problem though, is we'd have to get x by itself. So we'd have to divide by 2. We'd get x equals y divided by 2 minus 3 divided by 2. That wouldn't be cool, right? So I wouldn't change that one. You could change it for the y. That would be okay. And so you get y equals 2x plus 3. Or what about here? How would you get rid of that negative sign? Negative 2y minus 4 equals positive x. Okay. Doesn't matter which one you choose. It does not matter. Which one looks a little easier to deal with? Top or the bottom? Top? Sure. Go for it then. If you want to do the top, go ahead and solve. Question? No, what I did is I just moved the 3 over. Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have. That's too much work, I guess. It's 2x plus 3 equals y. I just wrote it with y first, but you don't have to. Okay? Does that make more sense? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so substitute in and solve, please. Substitute in and solve. Okay, so a good thing to do is collect like terms before you move across the equal sign. So what I did is I added these together first. Always a good idea. The less information you have, the less likely to make mistakes. Okay. Then you can move the 4x over, or vice versa, move the 10 over. But I'll move the 4x over. Then I'll divide, and I'll get x equals negative 2. Okay. Then I'll substitute into the equation. Now what I'm going to do is cheat. I always say to use the original. This could be your one exception, because the original question is pretty challenging, isn't it? Right? You have all those fractions. So what you could do is put it into one of the other equations. So I'm going to put it into the excuse me, top or bottom. Which one should you put in? Ankar? Top. So 2x equals y minus 3. And so it'll be 2 times negative 2 equals y minus 3. Negative 4 equals y minus 3. Add 3. Negative 1 equals y. So some hard equations, but a simple answer, isn't it? So the answer is bracket negative 2 comma negative 1 bracket. Put a box around it, and I'll probably mark it right. Oh. Any questions? Okay. Example number 5. Is it a solution? How are we going to check? Good. Substitute and solve. Do that for both equations. Did you guys get something different? So what do you guys think? What's funny here? First one, 13 equals 13. Is that good? Yeah. So a lot of you are going to get lazy and think, oh, I checked one, that's the right point. But then when you check the other equation, what do you find? It's wrong. It's not correct. 7 does not equal 3. So then you have to write down 5 negative 1 is not the solution. You've got to show me why by doing your check for both lines, sorry, both sets of equations, but it's not the solution because the left side does not equal the right side for that bottom equation. You will get that probably once somewhere along the lines. Expect that. Any questions? Okay, your homework, there's 2 parts. There's the worksheet from the worksheet handout, which is something about the ghost. And then you have page from your homework 425, number 19. Okay? 2 parts. You guys have 40 minutes. Really good chance you'll get it done in class. You must show work. Yeah.